Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaha Purnahudachyate Purnahasya Purnamadahya Purnamavaha Vashishyate Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hi, welcome everyone. So today I entitled it Nothing's Lacking. It's a popular kind of concept in meditation world, but especially yoga. This idea that we already have the thing we're looking for. It can sound sort of, yeah, I get it. But of course we don't experience that, because if we did, we wouldn't be here. We'd be experiencing it and we'd have no need to do anything. So we're gonna kind of examine that a little bit. In yoga, there's this idea that there's this sort of inner consciousness that pervades things and that we all have access to. And the reason we might practice is to remind ourselves of that. So that's the overarching theme. We usually come to meditation because we feel that, like we feel something's missing or lacking, or just not quite right with ourselves. It might even be like a psychological states or emotional states we don't like. And we're looking to find relief from that. And it feels as if we just look hard enough, we'll find that missing piece. And so a lot of people will bounce around to different practices and things, hoping that when they find the one, right, they'll find the missing piece and everything will kind of click together. And in a way that's true, because as you deepen your practice, you start noticing things differently. And what's great is that sort of feeling of lack motivates us to practice. It motivates us to look within ourselves and see what's actually there. And the great seers who have been kind of handed to us in the forms of texts also think this is a great thing. So in the Yoga Vasishta, for instance, the main character is totally despondent because he basically has no idea what's going on and has no idea why he's living. He's pretty bummed out. And all the sages are like, well, that's great. Because they know that this is the first step towards his enlightenment, that he realizes that he has to maybe do something or look somewhere else. So that book is about that. And there's 12 or 1400 pages after that moment where they explain everything to him and he becomes enlightened. So that's one example of that. The Yoga Sutras tells us in the first few sutras that once we stop identifying exclusively with our thoughts, we find yoga, which can be translated as union, or you could also translate that as deep inner contentment. And that's right in the beginning. And that contentment comes from the experience or the realization that nothing is lacking. So that's right in the beginning of that book. And the Yoga Spandharakita reminds us in a different way. And what that says is that it's in the first 9 sutras, it basically says all of the things we experience are manifestations of this one thing we're looking for. So no matter what the experience is, you're actually finding it. And all of our desires, which include our desire for things to be different, are expressions of that thing we're looking for. We're free, and there's nothing really to do because awareness is all that there is. So you're already doing it. So it's just another way of of saying the same thing from a different viewpoint. And finally, in terms of text, the Tao says, you don't have to do anything at all. Once we free for ourselves from striving, and right in the beginning of the book in verse 3, it says, everything will fall in place. That's the translation. Like, just do nothing and everything falls in place. So there's like 4 different versions of trying to tell us that there's no problem. But of course, again, those are ideas, and most of us feel like there's a problem, right? Like we don't experience this all the time. So the whole reason we meditate and we're here today is to try to match those ideas with our reality. And if we choose, we can sort of have faith that those ideas are true. And, you know, I picked those 4 things. I literally could have given you 50. Like, these books are very popular. People keep writing them who have this experience, and they keep trying to say the same thing in a different way. But we do have to be still enough, basically, to experience it. So we're here now. And when we find it, and that might be for long periods of time, or that might be for just a fleeting moment while we're sitting, we see that the thing we're looking for, we already have. And that's because it's a little logic loop, but clearly we already have it because we're just sitting still and all of a sudden we feel way better. So, you know, it was already there. We just paid attention for a second. We're going to sit with kind of this in mind, and we're going to go in, hopefully, with the attitude, I guess is the right word, that nothing's lacking, and that we're here to practice to kind of match that with our thoughts, see if our thoughts will like come in line with that, and our experience will come in line with that. And that even though we're meditating, we're actually also not really doing anything. So what that really translates out to in terms of what we're actually doing right now is we're going to meditate, we're going to follow the instructions, we're going to do the techniques, but we're going to remember that we don't have to try super hard. We just have to be here and do it. And the Tao really emphasizes this part. It's like, stop trying so hard. Stop trying so hard. But of course, this is better than just eating donuts and yelling at the TV. So we're going to do this instead of that. It's a lot easier to meditate together. I know a lot of you have meditated a bunch and alone and apart. And I'm sure those of you who have experience know this, that in community, this is way easier. Even though it's a solo activity, just knowing that other people are there with you is extremely helpful, and it's a great vehicle for our own evolution. So lovely. And yeah, so we're going to do that now. So today we're going to do 3 meditations. They're all meditations from the course. I might give you some variations on them, but they're all meditations from the course. The first one is like there to entrain us and get our mind into the eternal and connected to the expanded consciousness that comes when you find your energetic center. So that first one is a version of spine breath, because we want to find our central channel and allow our mind to open that way. So that's how we're setting ourselves up. This is not our only shot at realizing nothing is lacking and finding contentment. But as we repeat this process over and over again, the way it manifests for us is we find ourselves more content in general. So you're going to have your experience today practicing, and that could look a lot of different ways. But know that over time, and this time included, the practices themselves will leave us feeling a little more centered in the fact that things are as they should be for each of us. I'm going to say one more thing because I can't help myself. That's true even if we don't like the current conditions that we're in. Yogasthana Akita reminds us that that is just a prelude to the next thing, whatever that next thing may be. And so we can be content and annoyed simultaneously. So I'll leave you with that thought. Both of those they are not in opposition whatsoever. But hopefully by the end of today, you will not be feeling annoyed. You will be feeling more content than annoyed. And we'll do it that way. So a couple of sitting instructions real quick. You want to be very comfortable. Please give yourself permission to move if you need to move. However, don't move if you don't need to move. So we try to stay still, but that does not include pain or some sort of physical discomfort. Also, if you find that you're moving into like difficult mental states, especially if you have a trauma background, it's perfectly okay to take a break and go back in. Don't feel like you're doing something wrong if that needs to happen. There's lots of ways this meditation thing can happen for everyone. And while we're meditating, I'm going to play some light ohms through your speakers just to kind of give us a container. And I'll probably play more of this nature fiesta you had when you logged in today. That can be helpful if you happen to open your eyes, just to see something kind of placid. So those will be happening. In terms of your own environment, make sure that it's quiet around you and that no one's going to bother you. I know that's obvious, but sometimes we forget, and that includes your cats and dogs. Maybe put them somewhere else or make sure they're very well trained. Okay. Find your posture fully. So feel your sits bones, which are the bones at the bottom of your seat, and see what they're landing on. And then lengthen your spine and maybe drop your head back for a minute so you feel the relationship to where your head is and how the weight drops down through your seat. And for yourself, find the perfect spot for your head where you feel comfortable sitting, you feel aligned, and most importantly, you feel like the interior of your torso is open to your awareness. So as best we can, and there's many ways we could be limited here, but as best we can, we position ourselves so that there's an opening for our mind's eye to drop down into the central channel, the center of our torso. And it's fine if that's not totally obvious, but just look for it for a moment. Then begin to deepen your breath, if you can, through your nose. So breathing in and out through your nose. If that's not possible, you can breathe out through your mouth. And if you can't breathe in through your nose at all, just breathe in out through your mouth. Not the deepest breath you can take, but enough that it draws your awareness down into your body. And we feel our belly expanding and our ribs expanding a little bit on the inhales. We get more of a sense of the interior of our body. Feel the awareness in the interior of the body and the outer part of the body more relaxed. So enough effort to keep us here, but no more than that. Shoulders relaxed, jaw relaxed, awareness moving into the interior body with the breath. And then bring the awareness even more pinpointed right along the front of your spine. So as you breathe in, follow that breath down along the front of your spine. And as you breathe out, follow the breath up along the front of your spine. For a few breaths, just begin to find that awareness. As we do that, we're going to allow our mind to be flexible enough to see where our awareness of our central channel is for ourselves. So as you breathe in and out, down and up, you might find yourself all the way down to your seat or pelvic floor. You might find your breath going all the way up, maybe to your ajna, like your midbrain, or out your nose or out the top of your head. But it could be any variation within that, where there's a smaller area where your awareness wants to be. And spend the next few minutes finding that, like, where does your awareness want to be where it can easily track up and down the central channel? No pushing or striving, just seeing what your mind wants to do as you inhale down and exhale from the bottom up. Now that we've found our awareness of our central channel, we're going to let the breath move as it wants to. So, no controlling of the breath, just notice the central channel as you breathe. And notice your mind moving up and down your central channel as you breathe. We become distracted at any point, we can go back to deepening the breath and following the breath down and up the central channel. And then at some point, return to this place where you simply watch your breath and watch the central channel at the same time. Very, very slowly allow your eyes to open, maybe a quarter of the way. As your eyes open a little, let's maintain a inward focus we've developed in the meditation, even as we open our eyes a little more and begin to take in the room around us. So inner and outer focus at the same time. And then let your eyes open fully and see how much awareness remains of the central channel as you do that. Bring our palms together in front of our hearts. Bowing to the consciousness that is ourselves.